Okay, now let's shift gears into something else that I want to talk to you about. And this would be more under the aegis of self-leadership. If you're a Summit veteran, you've seen me draw this many times. We talk about the 360-degree leader, and we talk about how you need a certain set of skills to lead people who are under your care. You need those skills and even more skills to lead laterally across the organization. You need a different set of skills, and I would argue a more sophisticated set of skills to learn how to lead up to those above you. But at the heart of all of this is this idea of self-leadership. I remind everyone who gives me attentive ears, you are the most difficult person you will ever lead. You think these people are a problem? You think these people are a problem? You're the most difficult person you will ever lead. I'm going to talk to you about something in the next few moments that I'm very excited about and almost nobody else is. So I've asked for all the doors to be bolted at all the facilities all over the world just for a little while. I want to talk about the work habits of a leader. Wherever I go and whenever I meet leaders, and by God's grace, I've been able to meet some leaders of whole countries, huge multinational corporations, large NGOs, little youth groups. I meet a lot of leaders. And often, if I can pull the covers back a little bit and say, what do you struggle with every day? Really? They'll say, actually, it's my work habits. Sometimes I see the overwhelming need and I don't know how to order my life to make the maximum contribution I can make to this organization that I'm supposed to be leading. Many leaders incorrectly assume that the most important leadership asset is their time. Because people are always clamoring for more of your time. It must be extremely valuable, right? I humbly disagree. I've concluded the leader's most valuable asset is their energy and their ability to energize other people. Their ability to energize visions, their ability to energize the values of the organization, to energize the culture, their ability to energize new initiatives. Now that is something absolutely unique about a leader. It's their energizing capabilities. This is rarely talked about, but so critical to leadership. The way I stumbled upon this discovery is that I was on a plane coming back to Chicago from training leaders in Europe. The closer we got to the U.S., the more I realized how much work was waiting for me back at the church. I'd been gone for 3 weeks. It was mid-November. The Christmas season was just around the corner, and I could feel the anxiety starting to build up in my spirit the closer we got to Chicago. So I prayed the leader's prayer. You all know the leader's prayer. Dear God, help, please help fast. I need help so desperately. It's not a particularly deep prayer, but extremely sincere in my view. For some reason, after the prayer, I took out my journal that I write in when I'm thinking leadership thoughts, and I wrote one of the best questions that I had written in a long time. Here's what I wrote in my journal that day. God, in the remaining 6 weeks of this calendar year, because that's about all I had, what would be the greatest half-dozen contributions I could make to the church that you and I both love? Between now and the end of the year, what would be the greatest half-dozen contributions I could make to the church that you and I both love? And of course, you love it more. Answering that single question took the remaining 2 hours of that flight into Chicago. It required some of the most intense thinking I had done in months. Partway through that exercise, it started to become clear to me that my most important contribution between then and the end of the year was that I was going to have to energize some people and I was going to have to energize some initiatives. Then I got very specific to see if I could prioritize 6. And so I did. I said, I need to energize the team that's planning our Christmas Eve services. I need to energize the whole Willow congregation to give generously to an AIDS in Africa initiative that we had committed to. I need to energize the building committee of our board to take several $1 million of cost out of a building that we were building that was getting too expensive. I had to energize a reorganization process that we were doing in one of our student ministries. I had to energize myself for the teaching assignments I had through the rest of the year and so forth. But after 2 hours of thinking this through, just as the plane was starting its approach into Chicago, I reached for an index card in my briefcase and I put the letters 6 by 6. Just like that, 6 by 6 on the top of that little index card. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to do these 6 things. I'm going to focus on these 6 things with the 6 weeks I have left in the year. I looked at that 6 by 6 as I'd written all that stuff down on it, and no kidding, I felt a sense of clarity and excitement that was totally different than how I had felt a couple hours prior to that. I felt focused instead of overwhelmed, fired up instead of anxious. I could barely wait to get back into the office. The next morning, I went into work early, and I prayed over that 6 by 6 card, saying, God, if we could achieve these 6 challenges together in the next 6 weeks, your church would be in fantastic shape by year end. I was like a heat-seeking missile those 6 weeks at the end of that year. I prayed like a mad monk. I energized all of what needed energizing, and I deliberately disregarded second-tier activities. And 5 out of the 6 challenges on that little index card got done by year end. And on December 31st of that year end, I was filled with such a sense of exhilaration. I was so grateful to God. When the new year rolled around, I decided to try this practice again. I asked myself, God, what would be the greatest half dozen unique and significant contributions that I could make to our church in the first 6 weeks of the new year? Side note, there's nothing sacred about 6 weeks or 6 unique contributions. But I can't sprint for 6 months. None of you can. But you can all sprint for 6 weeks. Most of us leaders are juggling dozens of challenges and dozens of responsibilities, and to prioritize it down to 6 that will most impact your organization. Not the 6 you most feel like doing, 6 that will most impact your organization. If you do that, hone that down to 6, it will help you more than you think. Hence, sort of the 6 by 6. During the next 6 weeks, the second round that I did this, I worked with tremendous focus. I prayed with greater specificity and fervency, and I shook my head when almost all the objectives got done again. What happened next, when I decided to take this round 3, brought this concept to a whole different level. For the first 2 rounds of this, I hadn't changed anything in my daily schedule to accommodate this new practice. I was having the same meetings, the same times with the same people. And then I thought to myself, wait a minute, what if I arrange my daily and weekly schedule around my 6 by 6 card? This was the single greatest breakthrough of my working practice life. Putting what I call energy bursts against overwhelming odds and seeing God do incredible supernatural things. I'll never forget back in year 2000, we were praying some bold prayers that year. And our congregation was united around some of these big dreams that we had. We decided we wanted to go truly global with the Leadership Summit. We wanted to go multi-site and plant 3 new regional campuses. We decided we needed to build this new auditorium. We tabulated the scope of all that work, and we tabulated the cost of all of those endeavors. And I went into work the next day, and I said, this is impossible to do. But then it occurred to me, wait a minute. For the last couple of years, I've used this 6 by 6 strategy. What if I were simply to start to put energy bursts throughout my day against all of these challenges? So I did. I put energy bursts into raising money, energy bursts into what it's going to take for us to go multi-site. I had 2 energy bursts a week with the design team for this auditorium. And then another energy burst about 90 minutes a week to figure out how to take the global summit from just a handful of countries to scores of countries. And for the next several, get this, years, I ate, drank, and slept this 6 by 6 concept. I focused, prayed, and energized the teams of people to do their best for God in each of these initiatives. And finally, and I didn't even quite remember when we crossed over, but finally there came that day when I realized the money is all raised. The building is completely finished. The 3 regional campuses are up and going well and doing great. The Leadership Summit is in scores of countries. And I shook my head and I dug out that stack of little 6x6 index cards that helped me stay fired up and focused every single day during that era. I was tempted to frame them. These days, all of the senior leaders at Willow Creek Church work by these 6x6s. It's the primary way that we manage who's doing what around here and who's prioritizing what and who's going to get it done how soon. And just to be clear, these 6x6 initiatives are all above and beyond a person's regular job description. What we want to know is, in addition to your regular responsibilities that you get your regular paycheck for, what new initiatives and new projects and new endeavors are you going to move ahead in the next 6 weeks? This has helped our culture. This makes us, a high performance and a bold praying and kind of a nervous excitement culture, because we're always trying to see how we can move something ahead. Now, want to hear my current 6x6 list? Yeah, you say you do. Between now and October 15, which is my next little era sort of, here's what's on my 6x6. I have to finalize the weekend series out of the book of Proverbs that starts in September. I need to recruit a key leader teacher for one of our key next-gen ministries. The pay for that is $250,000, if any of you are interested. No, wait a minute. That was a typo. It's 250,000 cents. I have to figure out how to fund a new evangelism strategy in our 2013 budget. We're going to launch a planned giving program for our veteran Willow donors. We're going to plan our 37th anniversary, which comes up in mid-October. And then we have to brainstorm how to raise $2 million at the end of the year for some fantastic programs in under-resourced countries. Now, this is all in addition to my regular job description. But I'm fired up about this. And I've got that 6x6 card. And I look at it every day and it drives me. Sometimes I look at leaders who are far more gifted than me, far smarter than me. They went to educational environments that far surpassed the little colleges that I went to. And when I get them in private conversations, they say, I don't know how to address my work. I get to the end of a day and I responded to stuff all day. And I gently remind them, God didn't make you a leader to respond to stuff all day. God made you a leader to move stuff ahead. So what are you going to move ahead? Is it important to your organization? Is it the most important important contribution you can make to your organization at this particular time? I would love to see the day when every serious-minded leader in every organization came to work every day and just said, here, in the next 6 weeks, is what I can do to powerfully move this organization ahead. And I wish every leader would say, God, at the beginning of each day, I'm going to pray through this. Help me with this, God. Give me wisdom for this. Give me strength. Give me a contact. Give me someone to network with to help me sort this out. But I'm telling you what, when you get to the end of a day and you've used this 6x6, you hit the pillow at night and you go, I think I moved some stuff ahead. It's a great feeling. I tell you every year, leadership matters. Your leadership matters more than you think it does. You only have a certain finite amount of energy with which you can energize important stuff in your organization. Figure out the top 6 things that need energizing and energize them. Yes? Yes? You agree? Yeah, we'll see. All right, we'll at least unbolt the doors.